Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Streamlight TLR-6. So the TLR-6 fills a void left by the manufacturers, primarily manufacturers of very small, oftentimes single stack 9mm or 380s or whatever. Now, a feature that a lot of these guns are missing is a rail system underneath. So without a rail, you can't mount a standard light. The answer is this TLR6 housing that essentially hooks on to the trigger guard of the gun, and that's how it mounts. So we'll just get into it. All right, so here we are. It's kind of, I'm looking at the screen in reverse, so we'll see how much it screws me up. Optics Planet sent me this kit. I'll provide links below in the description. I actually have a coupon code over there right now for the month. I think it goes till about the end of December for 10% off. I'll list that below, so if you're looking to buy anything really, use it. So this is the TLR6 Universal Kit here. And it fits these guns. Hopefully this is focused, sharp enough for you to see, because I'm not going to read them all off because there's a lot of them. Here's some other specs if you feel like pausing it. So primarily the TLR6 excels in really primarily only fits guns without an accessory rail of some sort. So here we have my EDC Glock 19 here, and it has a rail system obviously, and that's what the XC1 attaches to. So without the rail, the XC1 has nothing to attach to. And in comes in the TLR6, which mounts on to the trigger guard. So here, we'll get into some quick specs for you real quick. It is 100 lumens, has a light and a laser. And essentially what it is, it also uses two of these little coin cell type batteries here. These are, I gotta read them off, I forget. CR1/3N. I don't know if this is gonna get clear enough for you to read, but anyway, two of these little coin cells, which kind of sucks, but it's such a small package and it's such a unique form factor that they wouldn't be able to jam a AAA or anything like that in there. So it is what it is, and you don't have a whole lot of options for little guns with no rail system. So basically, this comes into play a little more with the Universal Kit. This is essentially the housing. It houses the light, the laser, and the batteries. And that goes into a system like this. So it slides in there, and then it slides into the other one, essentially sandwiches that in there. Sorry, I was looking at the thing instead of the camera if that was out of frame. And hooks onto your gun. So there's a few different things, and I'm just noticing this now as I'm looking at them, but some of these finishes are a little different. You can see this one right here is a little smoother and this one's a little rougher, and I haven't done any research on this. I'm just noticing it right now. I don't know if you can tell that much in the camera, but I wonder if it's to match the frame of the firearm that it goes on, because I noticed they do a pretty good job with, oh man, I'm all mixed up now, with this one of matching the Glock frame. The material, the finish, the texture is very similar. So if they match the other guns like that, that's awesome. Kudos to them. So I'll just show you real quick how it mounts. So you have these two halves here, and they kind of pop into the trigger guard here. So I'm trying to look in the camera and look at the gun at the same time, so we'll see how we do. So that is half of it, and then the other half finishes the sandwich, and it'll pop in there, and you can kind of use the battery door to hold it on if you want while you put the 3 bolts in. So it comes with 3 little bolts like this, little Allen heads, and they go in here and they screw in. And I'll probably fast forward this part. All right, so then we're on, batteries in, 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3. lock the door once the batteries are in, and you're all set. Zeroing is done with your windage and elevation adjustments through this little hole with the same Allen wrench and this little hole with the same Allen wrench. Now, as a shortcut, what I usually do before I actually sight it in with live fire is I will sight it in, and a lot of people say don't do this, but I think it's great and I think it's easy. So I'll get some hate for recommending this, but it's always worked for me. You sight it in by setting your sights on a target. I would go for a defensive gun about 15 yards maybe, 10 to 15 yards maybe, and you put your laser so it lines up with your dot at around 10 yards. And so this laser is on the bottom here, pew, on the bottom, and so that means the windage won't change at any distance. It'll always be good left to right, but the elevation will change. So if you sight in at 10 yards, the laser is going to be low before 10 yards, and then it's going to be high after 10 yards. So that's something to take into consideration because of the distance from the bore. All right, so we'll switch over. This is on the Glock 26, and you can see how thin it is. Far thinner than the Glock 26 slide. Now we'll switch over here to a Glock 43, and this is a battlefield green Glock 43 with an FDE TLR-6 actually. So here you can see again how thin this light is. It's really great. So we have another, I'll compare it to another pretty small light, the Viridian C5L, but look at this sucker. Look how thick this guy is. Doesn't even come close to the thinness and sleekness of the TLR6. Plus we got some harsh, sharp edges over here, while the TLR6 is smooth like a baby's butt. All right, so let's talk functionality a little bit. So you have your activation here or here. So when it's over here, you can get it. So the Glock 43 is pretty easy for me to reach this, though I wouldn't say I have size large, so like a mechanic's large hand, but I would say my hands are really like medium size for a guy. If you're a girl, it's gonna be a little harder to reach here. But if you're a girl and your finger really only reaches to here, if you adjust your grip, when you're holding your gun, you can adjust your grip and you can activate it if you need to. So if you can't reach it normally, you can just adjust your grip a little bit and reach it if you need to use one-hand manipulation. If you're using two-hand manipulation, this will be upside down here, you're gonna activate it with your thumb. So if you have a proper good firing grip, your thumb will line up right around here. And if it doesn't, if your hands are really small, then you slide your thumb up to activate it. Sorry, that was upside down. I didn't feel like going around to the other side of the camera. So that's that. Activation is, you can hold it for just like a little bit for momentary. So I'm holding it in and then out, in and then out. So that's momentary on and off. Also, it has constant on, so you can just tap it. If you just tap it, it goes on and off. So controls, same on both sides here. Tap it on off, hold it for momentary on and off. And then, so there is obviously a 100 lumen LED light, and then there is a red laser. To go through the different modes, you squeeze both the buttons on both sides at the same time, and it cycles through the different modes. Light only, laser only, light and laser. So that's it, pretty simple. I'd probably keep it on light and laser for the most part. So you get about an hour of runtime with just the light. You get around the same thing, about an hour runtime with the light and the laser on. If you just use the laser, you're getting 11 hours of runtime. So that's it, sleek little package. And I'll get into some things that I wish it had at the end, but we'll continue down the path of the light, its uses and whatnot. So I'll show some beams here, and you can see what the actual output of the light looks like. So let's get into some cons here. So a con is I don't really like this side activation. Some lights have them, and I really prefer the paddles. But the design of this light, I just don't think they really could have integrated the paddles into a system like this. So when I'm talking about the paddles, I'm talking about these little guys here. Sorry, I haven't actually mounted this on here. So these little paddles are how you activate the momentary on the XC1. And I just really like them both for your offhand, or for your firing hand and your support hand. They're just, I really like how those work. I really like the controls. These I don't like as much. But beggars can't really be choosers, and when you have such a small gun and only one way to mount this on the trigger guard, you it is what it is. So activation, I wish there were paddles, but I understand the realistic limitations of this style mount. The other thing is battery. You know, it's not a common battery, so you're gonna have to stock up on some of those if you want them. And again, it's just a limitation of the size, of the form factor, of the device, so I'm not gonna fault it too much on that. But you know, I would prefer a different battery if physics wasn't a thing. The other thing that you should note is it attaches to the trigger guard. Granted, it's very small, it's pretty thin, but it does mean that your trigger guard is now a millimeter or two or three smaller. So if your finger is having trouble, and I actually noticed this, and I think it's just the Glock 43 has a pretty small trigger guard. I noticed that I kind of have to hook my finger back to get into the trigger guard when I go. So instead of just like going with, say, a Glock 19 where I can kind of go straight in almost, with something smaller, you gotta go kind of back and in. Now that's not necessarily a fault of the light as much as it is these smaller guns. These smaller guns just inherently have smaller trigger guards. But a thing to note is that you're gonna get an even smaller trigger guard because, as you can see, it kind of takes up some of that trigger guard space. So those are really the only cons that I have for the light. Holds a zero pretty well. The output is what it is for such a small device running these tiny little batteries. It's 100 lumens, you know, it's no slouch, but it's no, you know, TLR-1 HL or X300 Ultra or anything like that. But you can't expect it to be, obviously. So yeah, that's it. Sweet little device if you have a little gun that doesn't have a rail system, then this is, I think, your best option. There's a couple other options out there, but I think this takes the cake. Streamlight's just a great company. They have a really good limited lifetime warranty. So if products ever break on you, then you can get them replaced at no charge usually. And I've had great luck with Streamlight products. Surefire is obviously great. Streamlight, I've had nothing but good experiences with them. So I could definitely recommend this light from a durability and reliability standpoint as well. So that's it. You know, this was a pretty long, fairly thorough review. Mostly tabletop. There's not any night shooting just because I haven't been out and it's freaking freezing out here, and my shooting spot, my main shooting spot that I like to go to got shut down, so I have to drive even further, and we're kind of trying to find a spot. So I wanted to get this out because, again, this is a nice little Christmas gift idea, and a review for it is good. So this is the light, and that's really all I have to say about it. Streamlight TLR-6 comes in FDE and it comes in black. I believe those are the only two colors now. I think for the multiple package version, what's it called again? The universal kit, I think, only comes in black, but you can get specific lights in FDE. So a thing to note also is that this isn't like an XC1 or something where there is only one model. You just get the XC1 period, and it fits on every gun that the XC1 will fit on. For the Streamlight TLR6, like we were mentioning before, there's all these different body kits. So when you're not getting the universal kit, you need to buy the model that is specific to your handgun. So a lot of them fit multiples. Like this fits the G42 and the G43. You've got the Glock 26 one, it'll fit the 26, and it'll fit the 27, and probably whatever the other model is that looks like this. I don't know it off the top of my head. So just to note that if you're picking one of these up and you're not getting the universal kit, make sure you are choosing the one that is for your specific firearm. Otherwise, it will not fit. Hey guys, as always, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for liking it and sharing it and subscribing to the channel as well. I will get a haircut soon, I promise, don't worry. So I said I would be doing this at the end of videos once in a while, and here we go. So coming up in the next couple weeks, I'm gonna be posting a review of the Armasight Spark. It's a Gen 1 Plus night vision device. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave them below in the comments. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.